Welcome to the W.T.F. Where's the Focus podcast. I'm going to bring you a weekly short message on where you put your focus as it relates to sales and building successful business relationships. Knowing where your focus goes, your energy flows. I'm Dan Manginelli, the author. Oh, listen to that. Thank you, Jen. You know, enough of my intro. If you've heard who I am and what I'm doing, I'm glad we scratched the record, Jen, took it right off, because there's no reason, if you want to hear who I am and what I've done, go back to a past podcast and take a listen. You can get my bio or Google me or do something. Welcome back to the WTF. Here we go.
Gobble, gobble.
It's still November, people. Yes. It's almost time to eat turkey. Jen, do you know where Thanksgiving derives from?
No, not at all.
Not at all? Well, listen to this. Maybe. I looked it up. I'm going to sound smart right now. Thanksgiving Day is a national holiday in the United States. 1621, the Plymouth colonists and the Wampanoag shared an autumn harvest feast that is acknowledged today as one of the first Thanksgiving celebrations for the colonies for more than 2 centuries. The day of Thanksgiving was celebrated by individual colonies and the states, and it wasn't until 1863, in the midst of the Civil War, that President Abraham Lincoln proclaimed a National Thanksgiving Day to be held each November.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
Thank you. You're welcome. It couldn't be more perfect from what I'm going to talk about today, that I'm far, 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 far from Mr. Know-It-All. I'm going to tell a great story. Hopefully it's a relatable story, and everybody can join in and think that they're the same as me. I'm thinking. So over 20 years ago, after doing kind of a bunch of workshops and doing a lot of speaking tours, there were many people that would come up to me and they would say, hey, look, you should write a book. I mean, that was awesome. Your stories are so relatable and all parts of life. And I'd smile and go, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. And then I took the courage to do so. So it took me about 2 years. And plenty of proofreaders, and grammar correction, and Viola, my first book, it was published. Yay for me. I don't think I have ever, Jen, as you're listening to me there, felt more vulnerable than I did the first 3 months after it was on sale. 1, because I put my heart and soul into it. And 2, because I know that I'm not a trained author or a speaker in that case, or have the experience to write a book. So months later, after the book was out, doing pretty well as a matter of fact, still speaking, a good longtime friend of mine had asked me to dinner. And we'd go to dinner every once in a while. I was a golf buddy. Actually went to high school with him. At that time he was a math teacher, a calculus teacher, physics. He has a doctorate. Really smart guy. We've all probably had those people in high school and maybe even college that they didn't study and they just got A's. So after catching up with him and seeing how he's doing, starting a family and things were going, and acknowledging that my book was out, we started talking about that. And he asked me a question that I can still hear clearly to this day in my mind, especially when I'm going to do something that's completely outside of my box. He said, hey, look, not to be an ass, and let me explain something. When people say that, trust me, an ass move is coming. But he said, not to be an ass. What makes you qualified to write a book? Yeah, I mean, he also said, I don't even remember you reading a book. How are you certified to give inspiration and motivation to others? Backed up by saying you don't have a doctrine on the subject and you're not a known author. So what he kind of did is he kind of exposed every insecurity I have about myself, my education, my grammar. And the worst, it made me ask myself, you know what? Yeah, what gives you the right to write a book? Those words stuck with me for a bunch of years. Until you kind of go back out and you get responses from others on how my stories and how my speaking and how the books helped others realize, hey, look, I'm not alone in the way I feel and the way to keep going, even when others tell me I can't, or the market tells me I can't, or my friends tell me I can't, or yourself tells you that you can't. So those people gave me courage to write another book from the people that supported me. This is one thing I do know about writing a book. And being qualified to write a book. Everybody is qualified to write a book because everybody has a great story. The problem is most of us as well as myself, are too insecure to tell the stories and care too much what other people think. Everybody else's story can help another person. We're all trying to go through this thing called life, career, marriage, children, money, faith. And I've come to the conclusion, if my mishaps can help one other person know that, look, they're not alone on how they feel, and just change one mindset, it's worth it to all the others who correct my grammar, who send me stuff on email saying that, hey, you mispronounced a word, or you didn't say that right, or stop saying right? Right? It makes it worth it for the people that. After getting over the insecurities, I gave myself being asked that question, what makes you qualified to write a book? And I made a conscious decision to take all things each day and realize there's a story to it. So as I go through each day, something's going to happen that's somewhat of a good story that happened to other people. If someone cuts you off and you want to flip them off, or your kid throws a tantrum on whatever it is, there's something that I write down. And some are good, some aren't, right? And probably just like this podcast. Some are good, some aren't. But always my eyes are open to telling a story. And I know I can't be alone in that. And how I feel that, how I need to get going to push past the negative. I know I can't be alone. So how people's opinion stop us from doing the things that we can do is really what stops us from doing the next level of what we think we can do. Look, this week, open yourself to be vulnerable. Show that underbelly of your weakness. I'm telling you right now that, people are going to judge you no matter what. If you're vulnerable or acting strong, you're going to be judged. So why not be true to yourself? And if your story can just help one other person, that's what life's about. If my mishap or your mishap can help me be better in a course of a day, then that's what life's about. So my friend out there, who probably doesn't listen to the podcast because we have to correct all the grammar that I said, to answer your question, I'm not really qualified to write a book or even have a podcast for that matter, right? I mean, I don't have a doctorate. I don't have a college degree. Heck, I wasn't even that good in high school. Then, I didn't go to book writing school or podcast mastery. And some of you are saying, I know that you didn't go to podcast mastery. Life comes at you fast. And it just doesn't take a village to raise children. It takes a village to help others take the right path and feel good about themselves. So today's real message is just effing do it. Stop thinking about what others have to say about what you're doing or what you're not going to do. And unfortunately, most don't even want you to succeed. They're giving you advice, not wanting you to be better than them. And that's horrible human nature, but most of them don't want you to succeed or don't want you to go for it. Don't say to yourself, you know what, one day I will, or when it's the right time, or when I retire. Start it now. Be true to yourself. And you're going to find that the right people show up at the right time. Bam. Drop the mic, Jen. Look at that. I was getting passionate. You made me giggle. I appreciate it. Look, this is a good one. And it's not good being insecure and showing your underbelly and being vulnerable. But if you like today's podcast, hit the like button, then the subscribe button, and then leave me a comment and maybe your story too. How something I might say, go, yeah, I can see that. I'd love to see them. And share this with someone you love that maybe helps them, to let them know you're not alone. We all have insecurities, and most people want to pull those out of us. Don't let it happen. If you want a copy of either of my books, you can go to manginelligroup.com and hit the resource tab and fire away. Get yourself a copy of my book. I'm blessed that some of you have listened even this far on the podcast. I think that my average listening is 30 seconds, if out there, right? 45 seconds. So hopefully if you're still listening in this, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I really do feel that in my heart. And don't let people's other opinions bring you down. Let them only bring you happiness. And think of that and think about yourself as we go into the next week. Until next week, my WTFers, have fun and make dreams come true.